Hello everyone and welcome to another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game we're going to have a showdown between the God of Gobos, who's going to be playing the Beastmen, so he's actually not playing the Goblins. Definitely a little bit of mind games going on. He's going to be facing off against Zabloski, who's going to be playing the Wood Elves led by the mighty Durthu. So definitely some cool characters in this game. So let's jump right into it and take a look at some of these army compositions. So for the Beastmen, they actually have a pretty diversified front line, which I like quite a bit because even though the Wood Elves are on paper a very lightly armored faction, you're mostly going to see Eternal Guards and War Dancers and things like that. They often will bring Treekin. So though Bestigors aren't inherently designed to deal with large units, you definitely need a little bit of AP in your front line, in my opinion, to get get through those Treekin and rid of them. But aside from that, he does have some Gore Herds here, so it looks like it's kind of a mixed match front line with Gores on the flanks, and this is the dual wielding variant that does have a 36 weapon strength, and these guys do very, very well against Eternal Guards. So I definitely like the God of Gobos picks there. Bestigor's right here, and it looks like in the center he does have the dual wielding variant, so he doesn't have the shielded variant, except on the far side over here he actually does have one with the shield. So the ones with the shields are honestly pretty good against the Wood Elves also, because if it does get drawn into a very atrocious game, where you're being kited out and you have like Glade Riders kind of picking off your infantry, these guys are going to last quite a bit longer. And I think their melee defense is a little bit higher, 32 as opposed to the 24. So it's not that huge of a difference. But in the flanks, he does have two groups of Ungor Spears, so one group here and one group here. So he doesn't have any missiles in the back line, but nonetheless, like if they're going to be pressuring you and trying to get like a rear charge with some Wild Riders on your flank and collapse your infantry line, it's always nice to have some spears to help out. So he does have some Hounds, some Chaos Warhounds here, and some over here, which is pretty much essential against the Wood Elves, because they can bring Glade Guards, and if you don't pressure Glade Guards, they can do a ton of damage. And secondly, you also need to be able to kind of screen out the Glade Riders, because Glade Riders it looks like they have smoke and mirrors. So definitely some very good play and kind of a thought process there from Zabloski, bringing the smoke and mirrors, which makes them able to outrun Hounds pretty efficiently. 101 speed compared to the 101 of the Chaos Warhounds. So actually, they both have smoke and mirrors, which is pretty cool. He does have two groups of Harpies, which I like quite a bit. They do very good damage against lightly armored targets. Not great in sustained combat. Wow, they actually have 38 melee defense. That's not bad, but nonetheless, great against Glade Riders and if there's not Glade Riders, but missile units and all those type of troops. But I definitely like those guys. On top of that, he does also have Morkur the Shadowgave here on the ground. Obviously the most competitive Lord choice, so can't knock him for that. He does also have a Brave Shaman with Lore of Shadows, so probably bringing it in large part for the smoke and mirrors, so he can chase down a lot of those Wood Elf troops. And he does have Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, the Enfeebling Foe, as well as the Withering. So the Withering gives negative 30 armor and 8 leadership. Okay, interesting. And Enfeebling Foe can be pretty strong. Negative 34 melee attack and 36 melee defense can really shut down troops, and I'm not sure what the overcasting function is on that, but hopefully we'll get a chance to see it. So for Zabloski's army in the front line, he does have Treekin. So Treekin mixed with War Dancers. It's kind of very similar to how people use Famir Warriors with the Norscan Berserkers. It gives you the tank and it gives you the spank. Definitely can't complain. So I like this front line. These War Dancers will do very, very well against Gore Herds because they do have that physical resist of 20%. They have very, very heavy weapon damage of 40. So they'll be able to cut through that light armor very quick, whereas the Treekin are going to be able to take the damage. In the front, though, you can see the Goblin King does have some Centaurs with throwing axes who do have armor-piercing weapons, and he's going to start poking down these Treekin, which I really, really like that play. In the back, the Wood Elf player does have War Dancers with Azurai Spears, some Eternal Guard, and he does also have Loix Tricksters, the Regiment of Renown of the War Dancers with the Azurai Spears. These guys are a great choice against Beastmen. They can deal with, pretty much anything that's thrown at them. They can deal with Gorbals. They can fight very well in the infantry fight if they have to because they have incredible melee attack and very good melee defense. Just a solid Regiment of Renown. He has Big Daddy Durthu, which is also a good choice because, the Beastmen don't have the best anti-large options. Granted, they do have Gorbals, and if you get like 2 Gorbals chasing down Durthu, it can be pretty rough, but, you don't often see 2 Gorbals, so he's a pretty cool pick here. Branch Wraith, and it looks like the Branch Wraith he just brought for the buffs. So he's going to be using the Flock of Doom with Durthu probably for his Winds of Magic, and then he's just going to be using this for the Call of the Woods, which gives +8 melee attack, and then the Smoke and Mirrors. Lastly, guys, he does have 2 Glade Riders with Hagbane Tips, which I like, and with Smoke and Mirrors, it's a much safer pick. Generally, I'm pretty afraid of bringing units like this against the Beastmen, because, the Beastmen have a lot of fast, cav, and, they have, flying units, they got Harpies that can kind of chase you down. Granted, Harpies are pretty slow, but they can get good angles on you, and, of course, Hounds are a very, very big threat to these guys, So in the front line, you can see that the God of Gobos is indeed using his Centaurs with throwing axes to poke down these Treekin, but he does get kind of poked here by these Glade Riders with the Hagbane Tips, so definitely some good counterplay right there, but regardless, he still did get a little bit of damage, and the Wood Elf player does not have any healing, so any damage that he does is going to be pretty permanent here, but Big Daddy Durthu is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. On the far side, you can see the Chaos Hounds are coming up and around and positioning, probably going to want to collapse on these guys, and you can see another volley coming in from those Centaurs, but as soon as he comes in, he immediately pulls out. That's what she said. And, does a little bit of work here and doesn't take too much, for himself. So definitely a good trade henceforth, I would say. And so 60 War Dancers in the starting group, so he didn't kill anybody, he did some HP damage. So the Harpies over here are also positioning. There's not a lot of, like easy kind of stationary targets, because the Glade Riders, if microed pretty effectively, are going to be hard to catch, because again, they're equivocally as fast and they do have the poison shafts. So if they're targeting the unit that is chasing them, the unit that is chasing them isn't going to be able to catch them. So it should be some interesting stuff. So over here, you can see that Centaur's coming back in, probably getting ready for another poke. And the main line of the Beastmen, including the Blackhorn Ravagers, who I didn't point out earlier, definitely a cool unit, are going to be pushing in there. That is the Regiment of Renown of the Gorherds with shields. So over here, these Centaurs are throwing in on the flanks, and I definitely like this tactic of kind of positioning over here on the far side and just poking down, because it kind of helps you to avoid the missile. In the front, you can see these Chaos Warhounds do catch some of these Glade Riders and are able to kill a handful of them. That's actually a really, really nice catch. Unfortunately, he does run into the front line a little bit. No, he actually pulls out before he loses too many troops, but it looks like they just got terrified like instantly by Durthu. In the back, the Hounds are just trying to find an opening and a little bit of a pocket to get on these guys, and the Harpies are just lurking as well. Another nice use of Harpies is, again, like I mentioned, they do very good damage against lightly armored targets, so they can easily probably do some good work against this branch rate. In the main fight, you can see that the Withering, oh, so that is an overcast, okay. So it gives -8 leadership and armor, which is actually going to make these Treekin much squishier. Granted, oh, he does have Earthblood, so he did have that somewhere. I'm not sure where it is, but perhaps his branch wraith has it? Yeah, the branch wraith has it. Okay, so I totally missed that, guys. But in the main fight, you can see the Treekin are engaged with the War Dancers, but granted, these Bestigors are going to do very good against the War Dancers, because War Dancers don't really have good AP, so it's going to be a very back and forth, atrocious fight in the front line. Both players essentially have answers for what the other player brought, which is pretty cool. In the back, you can see that Morker and this Gorherd is going to be engaging on these Eternal Guard in the back line. You can also see the Harpies are coming in to kind of coon this front line, and Harpies will do okay against War Dancers, especially if they get a rear charge. Also, the God of Gabos is positioning his Centaurs to throw in on this Treekin, which is very, very nice. You can see that Zablosky does react with his low X Tricksters here, and he does pop that Stalk and Shroud, giving him the speed, and he gets a very nice engagement. So you can see some of these War Dancers are going to get in here and doing some fancy spin and shit, and they're going to get in here and do some pretty good damage probably to some of these Centaurs who aren't moving yet. So they're going to take some pretty heavy losses. You can see 3 or 4 models going down right there, pretty massive HP damage, but you can see some Ungor Spearherds are going to be pushing in and hopefully intercepting those guys. So very pitched fight so far. You can see Morker, the Shadow Gave, is fighting over here for some of these Eternal Guards who are about, half health, and he's probably going to be able to isolate these, do the damage he wants, and then summon some Chaos Bomb, which is going to be pretty essential. Over here, you can see the Harpies are jumping in, but you can see the mighty Durthu is fighting in the main line and using that Flock of Doom. You can also see that the Centaurs are targeting Durthu. So they're using those armor-piercing missiles to kind of poke him down, but I was under the impression that they didn't have healing, but the fact that he has healing is going to make him a lot harder to hit. Granted, that's some good AP damage, and if they can just sit there and shoot like that all day, it's going to be pretty good. So Durthu looks like he's kind of like trying to find a target, and he keeps getting staggered actually by those throwing weapons. But you can see Zablosky does react by bringing these Glade Riders over here and starts to poke him down, which is going to be very nice. And the main fight is definitely pretty wild, and it's incredibly hard to tell who's winning this, really. I mean, the Treekin and Wood Elf Infantry appear to be pretty tattered, but the Beastmen Infantry up here are, they're struggling a little bit for sure. 33 War Dancers here, 9 Treekin here, 8 Treekin here, so very healthy Treekin, and that Flock of Doom is going to do some pretty massive damage for sure. You can also see the Lamentation of Despair coming down and popping a few of those guys, so very well played using that Durthu ability on a very threatening target. You can also see that the God of Gabos is indeed using the Withering here to lower Durthu's armor, even more squishy. That's some cool stuff. So let's go ahead and take an overarching look at everything. So right now we can see there's 725 troops for the Beastmen, so they definitely have a massive, massive advantage here as far as just like troop count. I definitely would have liked to see the Koroks Man Rippers here, but I guess it's like on paper they might not be good against the Wood Elves, and how can you really know someone's going to bring Durthu anyways? On the far side, you can see some of these Glade Riders have been kiting out the Harpies, and this is something that's pretty cool about them. Like, a lot of units can catch these Glade Riders, but they do have the poison, so they're going to slow down anything that's chasing them if microed effectively. It's definitely one of those units that's very, very, contingent on your micro. So in the front, you can see there's just basically a bunch of trees and Durthu, and these guys are just going ham in the pits fighting against these Beastmen. But the best scores will do some okay damage, but not so much this one. This guy, that's got to be like one of the bloodiest deaths I've seen in a while. Like, his entire upper torso just crushed by a tree. You can also see the Flock of Doom is going down. All these angry birds are attacking these guys. There's some spears here as well, so some of these Ungor Spearherds will do some okay anti-large damage. Granted, they will struggle against the armor and the physical resist here, but it looks like Morker, the Shadow Gave, as well as this Shadowcaster, did overchase a little bit. They might have actually been going after this Branch Wraith, which is very low, and that's definitely a good idea because it's taking away the healing. So he needs to get these Chaos Warhounds. Hopefully they don't break for his sake, but let's see if Zablosky's Branch Wraith can beat them. It should be able to. It still has 600 HP, and these guys are wavering, so if he can get this guy back and get that, keep that Smoke and Mirrors and keep that melee attack buff and all those different things like that, and the Earthblood more importantly, it's definitely going to be very, very helpful for the Wood Elf player who, has these big, high HP units who are really going to benefit from the Earthblood, and it looks like there is indeed an Earthblood going off, so very, very well played by Zablosky, kind of stabilizing that healing mechanic over there. And you can see that Morker is pissed off. He's like, I'm going to go deal with that shit. Some Chaos Bond have come, which are definitely going to kind of tilt the balance of power probably a little bit in the God of Gabo's favor, but still, despite that, this is an incredibly close game. You can see that Jerthu doing some pretty good splash damage here, still rocking 3,000 HP. He's stomping the art a little bit. You know, he's probably going to be able to terrify a lot of these guys. And, you know, the best scores are immune to Psychology, but only while their Primal Frenzy is active. So once that wears off and, you know, their leadership drops below a certain point, they're probably going to rout off here. So it looks like Zablosky is able to stabilize right here. Jerthu and these Treekin here, you know, have beaten back these Chaos Bond who have 8 models, but their HP is incredibly low. Aside from that, it's just such a close fight. Looks like we do have some War Dancers and some of these Azrai folks over on the flanks who have, you know, rallied from rout, and they're probably going to re-engage, and that would definitely be very, very helpful in this close fight. But look at this force that Zablosky has. Jerthu does have Scroll of Legion cast on him. Interesting. So over here, he does also have 7 Treekin, so the Beastmen forces are looking pretty scattered. However, the God of Gabos over here is just making sure to finish off this branch raid. He doesn't want any more Earthbloods, and he probably, honestly, considering he just brought this in Flock of Doom, still has, you know, access to another Earthblood or two. So he does have these Centaurs with throwing axes who are very, very healthy, so they're probably going to be able to poke down Jerthu pretty effectively. So very, very well played by the God of Gabos, keeping those guys alive. Over here, though, you can still see that Zablosky still has some Glade Riders with Hagbane tips. These Treekin are able to absolutely just shatter and break these Ungors, and, you know, 43 models is still quite a bit. So over here, the Centaurs with throwing axes are back to business. They're now starting to poke down Jerthu. And let's see where, I was about to call him, I don't know, I totally forgot his name for a second. What's his name? Morker the Shadow Gate, yes. So he's over here. He probably still has one more Spirit Essence of Chaos. It looks like he's casting it right here on these 5 War Dancers. So definitely getting some good value there. Granted, it might have been worth saving for the Treekin, but it's hard to say because it's going to be difficult to poke them down to 20%. So he probably, you know, honestly made the best choice there. You can see that Zablosky is, you know, suffering from the Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma over here, which is going to slow them and do some decent HP damage. But he is able to break that Brave Shaman. So if Zablosky could get these forces and come over here and, you know, finish off this Brave Shaman, that's going to be huge. But it looks like Jerthu's actually going to come in. Oh, he's Gotham's Reckoning. He's coming in pretty hard here. But it looks like he does get kind of zoned a little bit by those Centaurs with throwing axes. So just incredible micro from both players. You can see even here just using these Treekin to, you know, mitigate that charge. And you can see that the God of Gabos was trying to get in there and, you know, finish those guys off. But a little cycle charging here isn't a bad idea because they do have a decent charge bonus, I think, of 32. So they're going to get some decent damage. And, you know, Treekin don't, you know, have the best melee attack, so they don't always connect. So he's able to get out before he takes too many losses. But he is running out of ammunition on these guys, so he's going to have to use them as a charging tool. And Treekin are pretty resilient against charges. So, man, this is just down to the wire. So what he probably wants to do is get these Centaurs with the throwing axes and just have them chase down these Glade Riders with the Hagbane tips here. I think that's going to be his best choice. You can also see that Jerthu's coming in here pretty hot and heavy. Probably going to try and spank Morker a little bit. Granted, Morker is not a pushover, and he does have poison melee attacks and 55 melee attack, you know, stat himself, so he can, you know, make some decent contact there. So he does get a Chaos Bond summon, but the Chaos Bond are being beaten down pretty heavily by the Treekin. You can also see Big Daddy Jerthu's. He's pulling up his claws and his roots over there, and he's probably going to do some stomping on these guys right now. So should be some fun stuff. You can see that Zablosky still does have some very good, healthy ammunition on these Glade Riders with the Hagbane tip, so he's going to be shooting in here and poking down, you know, the back line of these Chaos Bond and these other troops. Granted, they're just going to degenerate anyway. So, man, Morker is on the hunt, though. He's full health, and this is probably the biggest threat that you know, Zablosky is going to be facing. His Jerthu, though Jerthu could obviously beat Morker pretty heavily in a duel, he's very, very low. He only has 1,500 HP. It looks like Morker is actually able to catch a few of these guys. Oh, look at that smack right there, just right on the head, just the royal beatdown. Man, it's just an incredible battle henceforth. So it looks like some of the best scores are routing. You can also see some of these Centaurs, and probably at this point, what you want to do is just ride them around and try and catch like isolated Wood Elf units and just close, you know, make the game as close as you possibly can before committing to that final engagement. I definitely think that's going to be your best choice there. So the Gore Herds are over here with about 35 models. They might be able to turn around. Definitely want to finish off those Loix Strictors, and yeah, you can see they turn around right here. And these Loix Strictors charging in, and they do have the Loix Shroud, but they're still going to take some heavy shock damage from these guys. Because even like Beastmen rank and file troops, like the, you know, Gore Herds and stuff, have pretty good defensive stats. Not defensive, excuse me, offensive stats. And they also do have good charge bonuses. So you can see these Loix Strictors are getting cut down. So very, very, they fought a hard battle. They definitely did some good work, but it's too bad Morker can't use his Spirit Essence of Chaos on Jerthu. So we're going to do a little bit of fast forwarding because there's a little bit of posturing here and everyone's getting in position. Some good cycle charging right here. You can see those Treekin are just, that was awesome. Like the cycle charge, even though it didn't do a ton of damage, it was able to break them due to leadership. So that's pretty nice breaking that group of 3 right there. And this group of 8 in Jerthu are going to be so tough to crack though, because like he just has Morker, so he's probably honestly going to send Morker in. And once Morker starts taking the brunt of the punishment, he's just going to start cycle charging with his Cav and other units like that. that's what he's going to have to do. So, yeah, so you can see that Dirthu right here is pushing up the hill, again, just trying to take out the last of these troops, and he's able to actually finish off those spearmen, which is really nice. You can see the Lamentation of Despair going down, which is going to be a recurring cooldown. So he's going to be able to blast those guys just pretty much non-stop and just apply some really, really serious pressure. So we'll keep fast-forwarding here. Man, what an incredibly close battle. You can see that charge coming in there. You can also see Morker coming in, but a Flock of Doom coming down, and it does actually break those Centaurs. And this other group is pretty much offline with only 15 models, but still Morker is going to be really tough to kill, and if he's able to put down Dirthu, I think the rest of these Treekin are going to break and not have enough DPS to really get through his regeneration. So looks like Dirthu is just, standing and fighting. That's pretty much his best choice right now. He's at 900 HP, and you can see 600 HP, 400. He's just so low, and he's down to 200 and still fighting despite all that. You can also see it looks like he casts Lamentation of Despair, and Dirthu does go down to Morker. So Morker, though, is incredibly low as well. Just such a pitched fight. He's actually at 12 and 9 leadership, so then these Treekin are just kind of laying a smackdown on him, and you can see he's just like teetering in and out of his leadership. And another group of Treekin coming in, and Morker doesn't really have the best AP, and he does do physical damage. So these Treekin do have a ton of mitigation against his attacks. So we'll go ahead and fast forward it here because it looks like this does go on for another minute longer. You can see Morker is actually wavering. He's at 10, he's at 13 leadership, he's at 21, and there are the heroic Chaos Spawn coming to the rescue. So what a fight. That was honestly probably one of the best fights I've seen in a while. So thank you for the God of Goblins for submitting that. It was extremely well played by both players. I mean, outstanding top tier micro, just, kiting effectively with their cav, good cycle charging, that didn't seem abusive. It was a great game. So very well played to the God of Goblins and Zablaski. I loved both of their army compositions. They both had like good counterplay to one another. It was very, very awesome to watch. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one, and my apologies for some of the background sound. I think my neighbors were having a little bit of a party out back. So guys, thanks again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the game, and guys, I got more content coming soon.